This video we're going to look at Chapter 1, and we're going to look at basic formatting techniques and also basic formulas and some basic functions. We're going to begin by opening up our file. The name of our file is called Chapter 1 in 3 Charts. Click over here. We're going to open up our file. We're going to click on Enable Editing. Once again, the name of that file is called Chapter 1 and 3 Charts. We have multiple sheets in this file. And what we want to do is use our arrow over here, hold it down, and scroll all the way to the left so that a sheet by the name of Sales Info is now showing. Click on that sheet, Sales Info. Once again, the name of this sheet is called Sales Info. The sheet contains sales information for an automotive store. There's various parts that we're selling, and also information pertaining to the sales price for the parts, and also cost information. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some basic formatting to determine what our total sales costs are, what our sales revenue is, and lastly, what the profit was for each of our 12 parts. We're going to begin by clicking on column B. And what we want to do here is insert a column. So we've clicked on B, the entire column is now highlighted. What we're going to do next is right-click and then click on Insert. So we have a brand new column here with nothing in it. The reason why we did that is that what we want to do next is come over here and highlight from K4 to K16. So we've highlighted, and we're going to copy this information and place it in that new column that we just created. So we highlight this area here, Control C. Come over here to B4, right-click, and paste that information. So now we have quantities listed. We're going to use this information to determine our total revenue, our total cost, and later our profit. Let's tap the Escape key. By hitting the Escape key, we've got rid of our dancing ants over here. So we're going to begin by doing some basic formatting. For any type of Excel worksheet, you always want to have your title and subtitles centered. The steps for doing that, we're going to start off by going into cell A1, which right now is listing McKenna's Parts Supply. And we're going to merge and center this information within the width of the page. The steps are highlight from A1 all the way over to H1. So within this area, we're going to merge and center the information. So we highlighted it first. Next, we're going to click on Merge and Center. So our title has now been centered. Next, we're going to use some fancy formatting. How we go about doing that is come over to Styles, hit the down arrow here for Cell Styles, and we're going to click on Title. We're going to use the Title Cell Style. By clicking on that, we can see how it's changed. Next, we're going to look at our subtitle. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to merge and center that subtitle. Step 1, highlight from A2 to H2. So within this area, we're going to merge and center the information. Next step, click on Merge and Center. Next, we want to apply a fancy cell style. Come over to Styles, down arrow, and we're going to choose Heading 1 cell style. Still, in terms of formatting, what we can see here for our headers, we can't read the entire header right here. Initial items, but there's other information that's now hidden. One way to show that is to use another formatting technique called wrap text. The steps for doing that is to highlight the area, those headings, and then come up here and click on wrap text. And what we can see now is that we can now read those headings. They're now all showing. And let's click on bold to also do some other formatting to the headings. Next, we're going to use some basic formulas. First thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate the total sales for each of the 12 pots. Total sales is calculated by taking the quantity and multiplying that by the sales price. So we have our quantities here, and we're going to multiply them by the sales price. Right now, we're in cell E5, and we're going to begin our formula. All formulas begin with the equal sign. Next, we're going to use our mouse to click on the 45, which happens to be in cell B5. So that's the quantity sold for the first pot, multiplied by, take our mouse and click on D5, which is the item sales price for pot 1. Click on the check mark. We have our result. How that result was determined is that we used a formula equal B5 times D5. But I like to quickly double left click in that formula to verify it. If I double left click, I can see that we have our quantity sold times the sales price, B5 times D5. That formula is correct. And as we've mentioned before in class, the importance of determining a pattern. And if that first pattern is correct, we can then go to our fill handle right here. We have the plus, hold down our left mouse and drag that pattern down or copy it. Let's come to this last cell and let's verify that our formula is correct. And we do that by quickly double left clicking. And we can see it's 55, which is the quantity sold for pot 12. And the 48 represents the sales price, which is correct. Let's come up here to cell F5, and we're going to determine our total cost. And our total cost is basically our quantity multiplied by the item cost. Equal, here's our quantity for pot 1. So we're using our mouse to click on the 45, which happens to be in cell B5. multiplied by our cost, which happens to be in C5. Check mark. Let's quickly verify that. And we verify it by quickly double left clicking, which is showing us graphically the 45 multiplied by the 3586, which is our cost. That's correct. Hit our escape key. Come to our fill handle. Got our plus here. And we're going to copy that pattern down. Let's verify the last formula by clicking in the cell and then quickly double left clicking, which is showing us the quantity sold, 55, multiplied by the item cost at 45. Let's come up to cell G5, and we're going to determine our total profit. And total profit is determined by sales cost, or rather sales revenue, less the costs. So it's the sales minus the cost. That's our profit. That's how it's determined. Equal sign. Sales cost, which is in E5, minus our sales cost. Once again, it was sales minus our cost, E5 minus F5, check mark. Verify it. And it's showing me right off. It's my sales minus my cost. Go to our fill handle and copy that pattern down. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to determine our total sales. Then we're going to determine our total cost for all 12 parts. And lastly, our total profit for all 12 parts. So we're going to come into cell E17. It's one way of doing it. Come up here to Auto Sum and click on Sum. What it's showing us is that we're going to add or sum, starting in cell E5, a colon means a range. So from E5 to E16, that's what we're looking for. Click on our check mark. Come over to our fill handle and copy that pattern across. Next, let's quickly double check our formula again here. Quickly double left click it. And it's correct. We're summing for our profits starting at G5 all the way to G16. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to determine the percentage of our profit, of our total profit for each of the 12 parts. Now, to kind of make that a little bit easier for us to understand, I'm going to take our total profit right here in cell G17. I'm going to come up here to the paint bucket, click on it so it's yellow. So it's going to stand out. This is our total profit for all 12 parts. And what we want to determine is the percentage of that total for each of the 12 parts. We're going to begin, it's a formula, equal. The profit for part 1 is in G5, divided by the total profit G17. Now the whole key here is that total profit, that G17, is a fixed amount. It's an absolute. It's not going to change. And how we lock that in is by tapping F4, function key F4. By tapping function key 4, F4, what you notice that we now have a $G and a $sign before the 17. What that means is that we've made an absolute out of that total. We've fixed it. It's not going to change. Click our check mark. Let's format that by clicking on the percentage sign here. Let's increase the number of decimals by tapping that twice. Let's come to our fill handle and copy it down. Let's double check our formula by quickly double left clicking. And the key here is that we see that we have G16, which is the profit for part number 12, divided by $G, $17. We've locked in, we've made constant, we've made an absolute, that total amount, which is in G17. And we locked in that total, once again, by tapping function key 4. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to determine the average of the quantity sold. So we're going to do that by clicking here in cell B18. Come up to auto sum, down arrow, average. Now, the key here is that Excel will always take a guess at what you want to average. Right now, it's saying that we want to average the cells between B5 and B17, which is not quite right. What we want to do is we want to take our mouse and retrace what in fact we want to average. So I'm holding down my left mouse and I'm just going down to this point right here. We want to average only these numbers for the 12 parts. And that area is B5 to B16. That's our range. Click the check mark. I could come up here and click on the comma style. Decrease the number of decimal places. Let's double check our formula. Average from B5 to B16. What I want to do next is copy that pattern and place it underneath here. So in other words, I'm going to be determining the average sales for all 12 parts, the average costs, and then the average profit. The easiest way of doing that is right-clicking, copy, come to the cell right here, right-click, paste. Let's double-check our formula. And that is the average between this area, E5 to E16. I can now go to the fill handle and drag it across. Double check it. And once again, this is what we want to do, is average between this area, between G5 and G16. Let's determine the highest quantity sold. How you do that? is we're within cell B19, auto sum. Highest means max or maximum. Once again, Excel took a guess at the range we wanted to find the maximum. That's incorrect. So what we need to do is take our mouse and trace just these numbers here. So we want to find the highest quantity between the range B5 colon B16. So between that area that we've highlighted. Check mark. What we're going to do once again is we're going to copy that formula. Right click, copy, highlight here to here, paste. Double check it by quickly double left clicking, and we can see that we've copied the correct formula across. We're finding a maximum between G5 and G16. Come over here, we're going to find the lowest or the minimum. So our cursor right now is in B20. Auto sum, min is the lowest. Excel took a guess. We need to retrace the correct area. So we're going to highlight from B5, once again, to B16. So within that range, we want to find the lowest quantity. Check mark. Right click, copy, highlight here to here, right click, paste. Now, if you want to do it individually underneath each column, that's fine. Let's double check our formula. Minimum. So we copied it correctly. It's taken the right pattern. The lowest number between G5 and G16. As a rule, when you're dealing with sales costs and prices and profits, you would want to format those numbers as either currency format or the accounting format. So let's quickly highlight these numbers. What we could do is come up here and click on the $ to make it accounting format. Thank you.